Hello, internet world. I am so excited for this amazing presentation today. I have a super special guest hanging out in the background, but we're going to give everyone a few minutes to join. So we're going to just hang out here. So if you're tuning in from anywhere or somewhere, let us know where, or let us know any questions you might have. It's a really, really exciting discussion today. We're going to be talking a little bit about the realities of destination wedding photography, which I think is something that so many of us are inspired to do, right? Like there's no cooler thing to be able to say like, ooh, weddings are taking me around the world and I'm doing all of these things. But I do think that there's probably a lot of us who have some pretty interesting questions or some insecurities or any variety of things. And today's guest is going to absolutely help us hammer through some of those things. And I'm so excited for that. So if you can drop something in the chat for me, I want to know if people can actually see us, if we're live, if we're in real life. Any comment would do. And then I can give a grand intro to our amazing guest. Anyone here? Call it paging Bueller. I see there's a couple people watching. Can anyone comment in? Are you able to comment? Do you see us? Are we live? I'm gonna pull up my phone here because nobody's commenting, so that might mean we're not live. we don't actually exist right now. Oh, there's our first comment. All right, we got a hi from France. Armin, hi from France. Look at my shirt because you're from France. So we have a lovely set of people in France right now at a quite large conference. So if you happen to be at somewhere near Paris, pop on in and say hi to our amazing people over there. They're talking all about Aftershoot and all the cool stuff. So, all right, that's awesome. So that means we're here. Lionel's in from Belgium. We're alive. There's an audience and people can see us. So without further ado, I wanted to take a moment to introduce an incredibly talented photographer. I got to meet Shayne, actually not in person yet, but I got to meet Shayne through the internet probably about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and I've just been obsessed with all of the things he's doing. He's got incredible style, incredible work, and is super knowledgeable and just a cool dude. Like sometimes when you just sit with somebody and hang out with them, you're like, yeah, I would hang out with you any random time. So without further ado, I want to bring in the incredible, the amazing Shayne. Welcome to the show, Shayne.
Hey, Justin. Thanks so much for having me in for that very nice and warm welcome. You kind of got me blushing here at the moment.
Nothing I said was false, right? It's all true. Your work is incredible.
Thank you very much.
We're going to talk about some things, but eventually we're going to like show off this amazing Chérie style.
Right.
I've been personally using on all of my personal stuff because I love it so much. So nothing I said was a lie.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I'm excited to talk about the whole process and a little bit about the realities and the challenges and the fun parts of being a destination wedding photographer, sorry. And then obviously diving into how Aftershoot has really changed things for us and how I use the profile and my process and the way that I go through the whole editing workflow.
I love it. That's so good. Okay, so I don't want to keep people waiting too long, so I think we'll dive right into the presentation because I want to get it going. There's going to be a lot of things. So for everyone watching, please drop comments in, questions, anything you've got. And what I will do is then interrupt you rudely as you're talking to ask
You
these
got
questions.
You got it. For
Amazing.
sure.
So is your screen ready to share?
Yeah, I'm going to hide it so we don't have that mirror effect.
Right, here we go.
Okay, so can you see what I'm seeing?
Absolutely.
All right, fantastic. So yeah, as I just mentioned, everyone, I'm just going to be talking a little bit about the realities of being a destination wedding photographer, right? And so we're going to dive into as like the different things that are involved into destination weddings, the challenges, the joys, and obviously how Aftershoot has really changed the way we go about this career. Now, before we begin, I just thought it would be fitting that I would just introduce myself and my wife, Melly, who's not with me right now. She's with the kid, but a little bit about our story and how we got started. So yeah, I met Melly when I was living in Tanzania at the time. I'm originally from South Africa. grew up on a little island called Mauritius, which is in the Indian Ocean, and Melly's from Germany. And so, long story short, our paths crossed and we got together. And after some time in Finland, we moved back to Germany. And that's where I really, really started diving into photography. So, I had started photography from actually becoming a scuba diving instructor. And it was through scuba diving that I wanted to show people the world, and having a camera and everything. That's really, really sparked the interest. And now when we got to Germany, that's when I decided to make it a career. And weddings was the thing that really, really spoke to me. I have to admit, I am quite an emotional person. So I live off of people's feelings and the way people interact with each other. And so weddings fit perfectly with that, because I got to be able to interact with couples and see their emotions and see how they evolve with each other, especially in front of a lens. So that's kind of the goal, or that I had, was to become a wedding photographer. Though back at the time, destination wedding photography wasn't really a thing. I mean, we're talking about 2014 sort of time. It was there, but it wasn't nearly as popular as it is now. So after a few years of shooting around in Germany and having a bit more local weddings under our belt, we started to see the trend rising in destination wedding photography. And we really, really, really like this idea for a lot of reasons, which I'm going to get to in a second. But yeah, we came up with ideas on how to market towards it, and we started landing our first things, and then it basically just steamrolled down. And yeah, along the way, we made a lot of successes and a lot of mistakes, which I'm happy to talk to you about. And so hopefully you don't end up doing the same thing.
We're sorry to interrupt. Were you guys both photographers separately before?
No, sorry. So before photography, I was doing scuba diving instructing, and Melly was in a corporate job environment. Though she was very much a hobby photographer, loved photography, very creative soul, and loved to be behind the camera. And so that was one thing we had in common. And then once we had established a business here in Germany, or at least I did, she left her corporate world to come full time into the business. And now she's pretty much leading the photography part.
That's awesome. So cool. Well, yeah, scuba diver instructor is not a bad job either.
No, it could be worse, but yeah.
Amazing. All right, sorry, continue.
No problem. Okay, so yeah, before I babble on too much about myself and the story, it's not really relevant, but yeah, I wanted to just clarify what exactly is a destination wedding. So there's two ways to look about it. A destination wedding could be in relation to the couple or in relation to you as the photographer. A couple could be traveling from a completely different country, coming to your neck of the woods, and to them it's a destination wedding, but to you it's just the same old venue you've shot 100 times at. Whereas the other way around, you could be the one traveling and going somewhere else, and the couple aren't necessarily leaving their home. So that's the sort of concept I'm going to be speaking about here. At least the main thing is when you, as the photographer, are the one that is going to be traveling to the weddings, not necessarily the couple, but more that you are the ones that are going to hop on a plane, that is going to take rental cars, and you're going to move from A to B to go shoot that. So in the context and the whole thing of this presentation, it's you are the person moving for destination weddings. All right. So I don't want this to go on for too long, but let's go straight into the juice of it. And what are the lures and the challenges of destination wedding photography? Okay, we're going to start with the good things first, because there are plenty of them. And then there is obviously some challenging things, which I think are important to understand and important to be aware of if you are considering becoming a destination wedding photographer. It's things that I wish that we knew when we first started out, because we would have been a lot more prepared. And probably saved ourselves a lot of emotional drama and things. So yeah, I'm going to share this all with you. And if you have any questions along the way, please feel free to leave them in the comments. And then at the end of this, I'll do my best to get back to you. Okay, so diving into the first thing, like what makes becoming a destination wedding photographer so sought after and so sort of luring? And one of the main things I would say would be the fact that you get to travel the world and literally be paid to do it. Like, it's a wonderful feeling to have a couple love your work so much that they're willing to hire you and fly you to, for example, the Serengeti for their elopement, or to Italy or to Spain, or goodness, yeah, Bulgaria, we were for the first time this year. It's an amazing feeling, and it's such a cool experience to travel the world and see it like that. And I think this is one thing that a lot of people really do enjoy is the whole sort of idea of experiencing new places, new cultures, and just being on an adventure. So that's one of the main things I think people are attracted to becoming a destination wedding photographer. Of course, everyone has their own real preferences and things, but that's just basically what I would say is the main thing, right? Moving on, we've got the fact that weddings, when it becomes a destination wedding, can become incredibly spectacular. And what I mean by that is they can be extravagant, they can be high end and luxurious. And of course, you can get that back home and in your areas. But generally, when you think of an Italian destination wedding at Villa Belbianello or something, that's really quite a beautiful venue that costs a lot of money. And the couples have invested a lot into this day. So it becomes a little bit more how would I put this? Like exciting to photograph because there is so many beautiful things to photograph. Now, you can argue and say, yes, there's beautiful things at all weddings, and that's true. There's beautiful moments and beautiful things that you just need to look for it. That's true. But these kind of weddings, they can make it a lot easier to find beautiful photos. And that's exciting because you get to come back and parade around on Instagram how beautiful this wedding was that you got to shot, and it boosts the ego, and it's really cool. Like it's yeah, so long as you're not overboard with it, it's really cool. Like
Do you ever get like kind of like a budget travel wedding? Like I often see times on the internet people like, oh yeah, they're gonna like pay my travel and we're gonna go to like Bermuda and do a beach wedding or something, but there's not much to it. It's a
oh,
pretty
100%.
lavish.
100% for sure. Like, I mean, the truth is that just because it is a destination wedding doesn't always guarantee that it's going to be one that's going to pay all your bills. I mean, they don't always have the biggest budget in the world. We've photographed very, very small things, more so just because of the experience of actually being there to photograph it, rather than making a bigger profit. And yeah, so they definitely exist. It happens more often than not, especially in the beginning. But that's the stepping stones to building up your portfolio and your brand to a point where you are getting at least more consistently higher end weddings, if that's your goal.
Fair, makes sense.
I hope it does. If ever,
I mean, like I saw that and I was like, oh, weddings can be spectacular, and I'm like, I don't think I've ever had a really lavish destination. I'm not a destination wedding photographer, but
sure.
I haven't had those inquiries. Like the inquiries I get are like, yeah, we'll pay for your flight and your hotel. Can you do it?
Yeah, I mean that's for sure. You do get that, like there, but there is a market for those that have these big weddings, and I think at least in the one sort of artistic language type of photography or type of wedding photography, you know, with this luxury wedding vibes kind of becoming more and more popular, you'll start to see that there is actually a big market for that. There are some clients out there, some couples who really put a lot into their weddings and want it to be beautiful and want it to be memorable and well, not memorable, that's the wrong word. Everyone wants it to be memorable, but to be unique and like maybe Instagram worthy. I hate putting it like that because weddings shouldn't be about Instagram, but sometimes they might be, you know,
Yeah.
depending on the couple.
that's the way.
If I'm being honest, like sometimes
Yeah.
they go overboard with things that it's like, man, do you really need that? Like, do you really need 12 champagne towers going off at the same time with like Frank Sinatra singing? Like, honestly.
Amazing.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So basically, what I wanted to conclude here is that weddings, when it comes to destinations, can become really, really beautiful. Like it opens up the doors to all these lavish locations, and it's really exciting as a creative person to get the opportunity to go and photograph these things. So I totally understand why this is a sought out career path for wedding photographers. Coming up next is one of my personal favorites is meeting up with other vendors, right? So you could be traveling to a destination you've never been to before and happen to find out the DJ is someone that you've heard about before, and you get in touch with them and you go and have a dinner together the night before, or You meet up and you share a ferry ride across the Greek islands, and you start building up this sort of adventure together. And it's really, really cool to have these relationships form through a common sort of environment. Like you are all there um, to be there for the couple, and you have a goal that of making them the happiest. But you also go through similar struggles, and making connections with other vendors when you're shooting at different destinations can be really, really cool. I think it's the same even if it's local weddings, but I find that the relationships maybe are a little bit more um, rooted after going to a brand new destination together. And I find like that's something that a lot of people are quite happy about. I mean, it can apply to anywhere as well, of course, but it's just what I've noticed. And I think it's almost. Oh yeah, no, two more here. Another very, very cool thing, what I find, is the fact that destination weddings don't generally become repetitive, right? So when we were first shooting locally here, we used to go to the same venues more or less during a season, and so we knew the spots. We knew more or less the right places to take the couple. We knew the staff, which it's not a bad thing, but it became a little bit not as exciting as discovering a place for the first time. Like, have you ever been to a location that completely like wows you, and you're like, oh my god, like that is a cool spot to go and shoot, like that is a great composition, like that is that's what these destinations tend to give you, because it's always something new generally. If it's the same location, you might be like, well, I know that's a good spot to go there, we will definitely go there, and you might find yourself kind of going to the safe shots. But the fact that it's never really the same. You're always going to different venues, you have different vendors, you have different staff each time, different light, which applies to everywhere. It doesn't have to be just destinations. And yeah, it's just creatively challenging and creatively exciting, I would say.
For sure. No, that's definitely one of the advantages. I mean, there's advantages to having like the home court advantage, so to speak, where you're, you know the venue, you know where you have to go, you know how to do it. You can kind of put yourself in robot mode, but then
Right.
it's really a job, right? If you're not
Right.
pushing your own creativity and your own limits. I mean, there's a venue that like I've been at a ton of times, and they serve me the kids meal. Well, because like
Really?
yeah, because you get steak at these weddings like over and over, right? Like that's kind of like
Yeah.
the thing. It's steak at every wedding. You have 50 weddings a year. In this one venue, they were like, some kids had chicken tenders and fries, and I was like, can I get that today? Like I had steak yesterday and the day before. It was
Oh
like
my
my
gosh.
third wedding in the weekend. I was like, I just want, and now I get chicken tenders every time I go. It's amazing.
That's amazing. That's so cool. I totally understand.
But if I were doing destination weddings, I would be getting totally different food
Mm-hmm.
every single time. So definitely an advantage that you're not repeating.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, also don't think that every time you're being fed, it's good food. Like that's but sometimes it's been like we've been served things that are like really questionable, and it's yeah, but that's a whole other topic. Like I mean,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
there's not time there, but for the majority of the time, it's been superb. So yeah, I mean, all sorts of different cuisines. You go to France and you photograph a wedding there, you're going to get a French thing, especially if the couple are inviting you to dinner. It happens from time to time when it's a smaller wedding that they just put their vendors at the table with them, either at a separate table or like connected with their guests. And then you end up eating incredibly good food with the couple. It was quite good fun. All right, and to the last point here, you can be a little bit sneaky with these destination weddings. If you plan it right, you could throw in a couple extra days and have a little vacation, which, if you're going to be flown to Bulgaria or to Greece or to, I don't know, Hawaii, for example, might as well take advantage of it a little bit, especially now that aftershoot is in your life to handle the vast majority of your editing time. You could potentially stick around for a day or two longer and, kick your feet up and enjoy the beach. And I think that's a really, really cool lifestyle to have. Like you, as your own business owner, can choose when and where you work. And so having access to all these locations that you're already being paid to go to, your flights are paid for, you're getting a salary, you're getting everything for it. it's quite a cool thing to be able to hang out there for a little bit. And I can speak about that from my own experience being a father, and with my wife Melly, is we take our son with us to almost all of the weddings we go to, not necessarily by choice. It's We don't really have family close by to help look after him, so we bring him with us, and a babysitter. So the babysitter has a great life traveling with us. And yeah, so we kind of stick around a day or two longer, or a day or two before the wedding, just so we get to enjoy the place and make the experience a little bit nicer for him, but also for us. And it's really important during a busy wedding season to look after your mental well-being, your emotional well-being, and your physical well-being. And so having these little gaps in between projects where you can actually switch off, take a break, rewind, reset, let Aftershoot do all the editing for you. It's incredible. And then continue for the next projects. It's really, really cool. Like, this whole career can offer so much for your lifestyle if that's what you want. Like, you got to want this to make it happen. And Justin, you still there?
Yes, yes. Sorry,
Okay,
I'm hiding.
very quiet. I was like, it's like I don't
No,
see
I don't.
you,
I
I
don't want
don't
to
see
interrupt too
anybody.
much.
It's
I
like
don't
I'm
want
looking
to.
at a screen here, so
Yeah, no, no,
I
no.
can't even
Yeah,
see comments. So I don't know if
there's
anyone's
so
laughing
much.
at me.
Yeah, there's so much to get through. So I want to make sure that we have enough time. So I'm going to stop asking my poor questions, so
Okay.
that you can harness all this goodness.
All
From.
right. So if I'm babbling on too much, like, give me a ping or something like that. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'll chime in if it goes too much.
So start playing like the Oscar songs, like at the where they're
Yeah,
trying to
wrap
show
it
off
up.
people. No, that's it. Okay, so on the complete other end of the spectrum, I'm going to talk a little bit now about the challenges of destination wedding photography. And I think this is just as important to look at as the plus sides, because there are things that you need to be aware of when you're going to do this. If you're going to chase this career, you need to be aware about them. And, if you say yes to all of these, fantastic, go for it. Believe in yourself, you can do it. Like, it's not impossible. But let's dive right in. So, firstly, it can be mentally, emotionally, and physically demanding. And what I mean by this is, if you're not already shooting destination weddings, but just normal weddings, you know how tired you are after a full day. After a full day shooting a wedding, 12 hours, 15 hours, 18 hours, however long you've been shooting. Now, imagine doing that after a big travel to a new country, a new climate that could be really hot or really cold, and then having to leave the very next day to catch your plane or flight, boat or wherever, to get back home ready for the next projects. Like, the traveling time starts to wear down on you. And, as I've gotten older, I feel it a lot more. Um, and so if you're new and you're young and fit and healthy, you might not feel it eventually, but it will catch up at some point where, if you're not looking after yourself physically and mentally, it'll start taking a toll. And so it's really important that you look out for this and you take the time off to rest, allow yourself to say no to things, to look after yourself, because how can you perform the best if you're not actually feeling the best? So yeah, it's just very important that this does demand quite a lot from you uh, to perform, and obviously to stay on top of your game. The next thing is, it is immensely competitive. This part of the industry, I find, is one of the most competitive things. There are so many photographers and videographers out there who want to live the stream of being a destination photographer and or videographer, and that's totally okay. Like, everyone has the chance, and with so much good education out there and so many amazing resources, it's really like it's exploded with the amount of people out there. And a lot of them are so damn talented, like, they blow smokes around us. So it's amazing what they produce. And so, yeah, you just need to be aware that you're going to have to really get your name out there somehow. You're going to have to stand out somehow. You're going to have to come up with ideas where clients are going to look at your work, look at you as a person, and be like, no, you are the one that I like. I love your work. I want to hire you above everyone else. It takes a lot of work. It can be emotionally tiring as well when you compare yourself to others on Instagram, and you see their destinations that they're getting, and you're at your destination is, I don't know, 100 meters down the road. It's like, oh, well, that's not very exciting. So yeah, you just need to be aware about that and be willing to fight for yourself and believe in yourself, and go through this with with the right intentions, and you can do it. Believe me, you can. Everyone can. Like, there's enough of a market for everyone. It's just people can be very loud. Like, who's the loudest that's going to be seen, sort of thing. So just make sure you're aware about that, right? This is what kind of going back to what Justin was saying a bit earlier. It's not always glamorous and easy. You know, what you see on Instagram from us or from 90% of other photographers is a very curated selection of images and weddings and projects that we want to show, because the golden rule is you really should show only what you want to book more of, right? So we wouldn't show weddings that were not exactly as picturesque as another one, to put it nicely.
Do you ever get pushback on that?
No, not really. I mean, if people don't know it happened, or don't know that wedding was a thing, they don't ask about that. Oh, are you talking about the perspective of the clients?
Yeah, the clients ever be like,
Oh,
"Oh, why didn't you post my wedding? Was it not good enough for you?"
right. So that happened, I think, only once. And I think we brushed off saying, listen, we aren't posting any new weddings at the moment. We are so busy. And, you know, if we get around to do it, we'll let you know. But please don't take any offense. It's not personal. It's just yada, yada, yada. But
Yeah.
it's not very often that that's happened. I think it was just once in like 2015. Something like that back then. But yeah, so yeah, as I was just going to say, like, it's not always glamorous. It's whether the travel is not always glamorous. I mean, we've had our car broken down in the middle of Austria, like literally in no man's land. There was nothing. Like there's a little animal in Europe called a marder. The English word is, it kind of looks like a ferret thing, but it crawls into your car and eats your cables. And it basically did that to our car. And we were stranded in the middle of Austria on a Sunday after the wedding, and like nothing was open. We were stuck for 6 hours. And oh yeah, no, like it's not always glamorous. Like, it's really can be a challenging thing at times. And so yeah, you got to be strong. And that leads me to the next one, is you got to really be on top of your game for the logistics and your gear and data. Obviously, looking after your gear and making sure that it's safe at all times. A good tip, which I'm going to say again, is never, ever, ever travel with your gear in your checked-in luggage. Like, everything that you need to shoot this job, even an extra pair of shirts and pants or dress, whatever it is, keep it into your camera bag, so that if something happens to your checked-in luggage, you've got everything you need to perform the job, albeit maybe not in the fanciest clothes, but you're not as messed up or in trouble as you would be if you lost all your camera equipment. So yeah, you just need to have that on point, and being in charge and aware of your logistics, getting you from A to B, to the country, to the venue, between the different venues in a different country that might not speak the same language as you. It could be challenging. Like, you got to kind of work through this, and it's very helpful if you have a wedding planner there, but it's not always the case. So you got to be able to do this, and you'll figure it out. You'll get your systems that work. Yeah, so it's just one thing that you have to be aware of, and can be definitely a challenge. So yeah. And lastly, on the challenging part, because I don't want to drabble on negative for too long, is that yes, there are so many things that can go wrong before the wedding even starts. And that could be delayed flights, that could be lost luggages, it could be all sorts of things. I mean, of course, that can happen locally as well, but I think there's a little bit more dynamics that can go wrong when you're traveling countries or cities or something that's quite far away. So again, being on top of your game and being aware of what could potentially go wrong and having a plan for that is never a bad idea. It could be as simple as knowing another photographer in that area, just in case you can't make it because the flight gets canceled. Even if that photographer can't shoot it because they're already booked, they may know their connections or have a connection to someone who can, and that's easily a direct thing. So it's just becomes a little bit of a habitual thing to start planning and thinking like this when you're setting up your destination wedding timeline project thing. And yeah, if you do this, you'll start figuring it out yourself, but it's important to just be aware that these things are going to be there for you. All right. So if I haven't scared you from becoming a destination wedding photographer, I'm going to give you some tips on what I think you can do to have a successful business to attract destination weddings and so on.
I came to interrupt you before you got started because Kate
Okay.
has a great question, and it was actually the same thing I was thinking. Like,
Mhm.
have you ever gotten hurt or sick on a destination wedding? Like, do you have a horror story that, or were you able to avoid it all because you're so?
Um, Actually, my last wedding for this year, I got pretty sick while driving down to Austria. So much so that I had to kind of throw up. I won't go into details, guys. But
Please do.
yeah, I was sick, literally on the day, and the wedding was the next day, and I was really, really, really nervous that I wasn't going to be able to shoot this project. So yeah, I had gotten down to Austria, and it was after the pharmacies had closed, so I didn't have any medication with me, like any anti-throwing up stuff. Or I know it was my fault. I should have packed that. Like, it was a complete flop on my end. But yeah, it kind of happened when I was driving, and so I was really, really nervous. And fortunately, that's been the closest I've been to ever having to pass on a wedding to someone else. Like, it was really not a nice experience. I had my second shooter who I hired from Austria to meet me down there. He was there already. So in the back of my mind was, okay, he's going to be the main photographer for that wedding in case I can't make it. He didn't know that I was this sick. I kind of like sprung it on him like later on. But yeah, it was very lucky that he was there because it was a just in case thing. But yeah, other than that, I don't think we've ever really been hurt of or have any major horror stories. I think we've been quite lucky with that. So I'm going to touch wood.
Yes.
That's okay.
Okay, sorry. Continue.
No, don't be sorry. Okay, yeah. So this is my sort of advice for building a successful destination wedding photography business. Oh, it gets tiring saying that whole sentence out 100 times. It's pretty long. All right. So one thing that I've always preached right from the beginning and right when it clicked in my head first was that the most important thing is to treat your business as a business. Now, that doesn't sound glamorous. It doesn't sound charming necessarily. And, especially when you see other successful businesses on Instagram being very personal and, oh, I love my business. It's my life. And it's true. You can have that. But those people behind the scenes are treating it like a business as well. That's really the thing you have to come to terms with is you're going to have to look at your numbers and look at everything as a business and look at your product. Like, even take a step back and not just look at it as wedding photography, look at it as a product that you're selling to clients. And once you start doing that, you're going to start being able to make decisions that are going to influence your business and bring you those clients. And your decisions become less emotionally based, but more, I want to say, logically based, but I don't know if that's the right word. So if I've offended someone by using that, I'm sorry. But it's you use a different part of your brain and your heart when you make business decisions from a analytical point of view than a heart point of view. Now, that's not to say you can't make decisions with your heart. You can't have a business where you love and adore it. Of course you can, and you should. It makes it very personal, but it needs to be balanced. Okay, you can't exclude the business part. And you can actually grow to like it. You can grow to love the business part. It can be good fun and very rewarding. So yeah, main thing. All right. So once we got that, we're going to start establishing your brand, right? That's going to be what's going to attract your clients. And it's very, very important that you get this right because it's the first entry to you, unless they've seen you somewhere, but generally not. Okay. And this is what I mean when you say you need to know your target clients and what would they be attracted to. So taking your emotional side out here and not thinking about you and what you would like, because ask yourself, are you your own target client? Like, I'm not my own target client, not at all. So you have to think about what your dream clients would like. Are your dream clients those influencer models that are having these lavish weddings in Italy and Spain? What would they like? What brands do they like? What are they attracted to? And what colors do they like? What vibes do they like? And you start building this picture, you start building this idea of what they like. And now you need to create it. You need to start putting that into your mind on how you can build this brand around to attract these things. So even if you wanted those elopement destinations, that's absolutely targetable. It's amazing to have those sort of rootsy people that are just adventurous and want to be simple and elope and bring you with them to Norway under the stars and aurora borealis. Uh, Absolutely. Figure out what attracts them, what they like, and maybe that'll influence your brand colors, your brand fonts, your designs on your website, and even the language that you use on Instagram. All of these things form part of your brand, and it really, really boils down to knowing who your target clients are. And I wish I could tell you an easy way to find out who it is you want, but that's something you got to kind of figure out on your own. Maybe it comes from shooting enough weddings to know what you like and what you don't, but it's a very important step in for your business and for attracting these sort of weddings that are actually going to bring you around the world, because you need to speak to them on so many levels, right? Okay. This leads me to investing into your brand being smart and working with the pros. So I'm no designer myself. I love building websites. I love projects. I like to be entrepreneurial. But when it comes to brand designs, for example, I had the worst experience doing it myself. Like, I get so frustrated, or I rebrand myself 20 times before I even launch, because I like, one day I like this and one day I like that, or one day I think my clients would like this. When you work with professionals, a professional graphic designer, a professional brand agency, they are going to take your ideas, your target clients. They are specifically going to ask you what your target client is or who they are. And they're going to come up with a brand that they believe, through their training, through their experience, that is going to talk to them. And it might seem like a big investment upfront first, but it's going to pay off so much. And I can tell you from our own experience, we did this with flow themes back when that was a thing, like in 2016, I think it was. We rebranded with them. We had flow themes do a full branding. It was expensive, like almost 5 digits, and back then that was a lot. And it was night and day, the difference in the amount of requests we got, but also the sort of, I don't want to say quality of request. That sounds so bad, but the level of request, like the budget of these requests was much higher, because we came off as being more professional, and more fancy and more curated and more beautiful than what we were previously. And so I really recommend finding a graphic designer, finding a branding agency, if you really want to go into this. And again, thinking about it like a business and putting in an investment of however much. Maybe they got plans that let you pay over time. Maybe start small with just a light brand refresh or something, or not at all. If you're happy with your brand, go for it. Absolutely believe it. But get consulting and see if they would be able to help tweak it. It really makes a difference, at least from my experience.
I had a really good user question.
Yeah.
And this is, where do you advertise for destination weddings? So you kind of covered the branding, right? So how you can be more of a brand and how you can have more of a mark on a brand, but how do you get those people to traffic to you?
So honestly, I don't have the best answer for that. I don't use Google Ads or Facebook ads. Everything and all our bookings have come primarily through word of mouth and through Instagram and Facebook, when Facebook was a bit more active. So I'm probably the wrong person to ask for advertising. I'm not an advertising type. But what I can say is, to be consistent has worked a lot for us. Is to be consistent with the experience you give your couples, because they speak. And if your couple tells another couple how good you were and what you did and how you behaved, and the other couple experienced it and they tell the same, you become known for this, and that becomes your advertising. It becomes a really strong form of advertising. And
No, that's a great suggestion. And I would say, just to kind of double down on that concept, for advertising, I don't know that you necessarily need to be running advertising, but you would probably be more beneficial to focus on something like SEO, right? Because
right.
you really want people to find your website with your beautiful branding, but you
Yeah.
want them to find your website because they're looking for a destination photographer for your place,
Yeah.
where you're trying to be a destination. Like, let's say you want to be in Italy, you double down and focus on SEO for destination photography in Italy, right? Like,
Right.
that's your target mark there. You want people to like find you there,
Exactly right.
find you through searches, because until you build up that client repertoire and those people who are going to refer you, there isn't like as far as I know, there's not like a book, right? Like there's not like a here's your destination wedding photographer book, right? It's people
Right.
who are looking, searching for, and it may just be a small dream, right? It may just be someone saying, "Oh, I really wish I could get married at Lake Como in Italy," right? That's my dream.
Exactly.
And they're going to start searching for that on the internet. And if you're producing the content and the SEO relevant articles and things like that, they're more likely to find you that way than if they were just like wedding photographers for Lake Como.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. And it's funny because it kind of sort of leads to my next point, which you'll see. It's a little bit about SEO, more so about portfolio. But you're very right in saying like that's a very, very viable way to advertise and to get people to find you as SEO. Is use the Google, and I honestly think the ChatGPT AI thing is going to be the next search, and I think there's going to be SEO specific to AI search results, but that's topic for another time. I'm happy to talk to people about that. But yeah, so I just want to jump to the next point because it does tie into the SEO and advertising. I realize now it was a great question. Thank you for asking. So there is always this common sort of catch-22, you want to shoot these destination weddings, and couples who want to book you for a destination wedding want to see examples of work you've done from other destinations or maybe their same destination. So how do you get that if you don't get given the opportunity to do it? So it's kind of breaking the catch-22 here, and you need to go out and create this portfolio yourself, at least in the beginning, at least to get your foot in the door. There's really only one or two ways you could do this. And one is to actually invest into your business again by paying for a flight for yourself to go to this destination. Let's say you want to go to Italy and you want to book weddings in Italy. Go for a holiday to Italy, take your family if you want, but then dedicate a day or two to go and either do a style shoot where you are in charge of everything yourself, or you're working with a wedding planner or a wedding designer, but you are in charge because it's your portfolio, right? So you need to be hand in hand with the other people, and go and create content from there. Even if you're doing landscape stuff, even if you're doing, just to be present there is really, really a big step forward. So you do have to look at it in the sense of a little bit of an investment into your business. You're investing into your portfolio. You want to do this, but that is really, really a big help. I can tell you, for an example, we were on holiday in South Africa, my home country, and we were in Cape Town, and we were walking around, and we only had one camera body with us. We were not there to work. It was meant to be just a vacation. But we happened to walk past this couple that looked really beautiful, like drop dead gorgeous, like absurdly beautiful. And since it was the first time we were in Cape Town, me and my wife, we were also kind of gobsmacked at the beauty of the place, and her having bigger cojones than I do, went up to them and said, "Hey guys, would you be open to do a little couple shoot?" And like, this was more fun, more just, why not? It's a beautiful place, let's do something. And through that experience, we found out that they actually happened to be models, which was like, wow, okay, that's amazing. It's also not surprising. We found a bridal store. Like literally the next day, we called up a few bridal stores, and they were keen to give us a dress, like a proper 1,000, 2,000 euro dress, to take up onto a mountain. We found a makeup artist who we paid to be there, and we found a florist. And okay, I want to say we, but not me. Melly did all of this. I was like useless. So I'm gonna be like honestly and frank here. It's like Melly did all that. So yeah, she managed to put all of this together, and we photographed this on the mountain, and it was incredible. It was a stunning photo shoot, and we got requests to go and photograph in South Africa, and we had more requests from around the world to go and photograph elopements because of this little stunt that we did, that we pulled off completely spontaneously. And so that goes to my point here, where you need to create the portfolio yourself if you don't have it already. And believe me, once you start and you've got something, it will eventually start to snowball. Okay, you photographed in this location, and maybe you're in Canada, in Banff or something like that. And then a couple finds you and says, "Hey, I'm also getting married in Banff." And then, you get that one. And then their friends who were there at the wedding say, "Hey, I'm getting married in Jamaica." And then you go and shoot there, and it starts to come. But it takes time and perseverance. But yeah, it all starts from actually having something to show. And yeah, so that's another thing I would definitely recommend doing, is building the portfolio yourself. Okay. who you know is more impactful than what you know. And it's very much the same as, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And this is true. So in the industry, one of the most beautiful things are the friendships that you can make and the connections to other vendors and other people, even your couples. Knowing and becoming not necessarily best friends with them, but good enough, like professionally good enough with wedding planners and makeup artists and musicians is always going to be a benefit to your business because they will recommend you, you recommend them, and it becomes just this community of helping people. And I can't tell you how many amazing weddings we got to photograph simply because another photographer recommended us because they were already booked. Had we not been friends with this photographer, they would never have thought about us. Or coming from a makeup artist or a musician who said, "Hey, we loved working with Melly and Shayne. They were great. This is our recommendation, considering that you're asking me for photographers." So yeah, making relationships in the industry is never a bad thing. Like, you don't have to be best friends. You certainly don't have to be calling them up every single day, but leave a lasting impression. And there's a few things that you can do to help that. And, be preemptive and send them the photos that you took where you work together at a wedding. Don't wait for them to ask you. Just kind of surprise them. Make a little reel for them. For a wedding planner, gosh, they will love you forever if you came and made a cool little reel for them with your photos and quickly sent it to them. It's things like that that can go a long way. That's minimal effort for you, but goes a big away for them. So yeah, building up your relationships is going to change the game for you a lot. I can personally vouch for that, like, for sure.
I'm going to start playing the music.
Oh no, was that a long one?
Yeah, so we have about 15 minutes left, and you have about 13 slides, I think, if my math is right. So
no.
want to make sure you
Okay,
can at
so
least
I got carried. Okay, hang on. So hang on. Oh look, there's a double slide here. So okay, there's a problem there. No, I can skip that one. After shoot, which is what I was going to come through, but there were some quick tips. All right, so I'm not going to speak about this too long. I'll just do this quickly and briefly because I think they're quite valuable. So yeah, so what have I put here? Quick tips. I'm going to go fast through this so I don't blow on too long. When traveling to a destination, do your best to have at least one full day buffer. Don't travel the day before the wedding as much as possible. Allow yourself at least a day in case something happens, in case there's delayed flights, in case whatever. If the wedding is on Saturday, leave latest on Thursday if you can. It's not always possible. Sometimes you have to leave on a Friday, but really, really, really aim to have at least a buffer day. Like, that's pretty crucial.
Do you generally, like, when plotting your flights, are you looking for timelines when possible that like have backups? So like, let's just say you book flight in the morning so that there's also that at that airport there's more flights in the afternoon.
To some degree, yes, but it's not always that they have multiple flights. When you're doing a big international flight to a whole other continent, it's not like they have two flights that day. Sometimes they literally only have it at the night, at an evening flight where they fly you from 8 o'clock at night here and they get you there the next morning where you can sleep during the night. So yeah, it's not always the case, but it's something that we have thought about for more sort of intercontinental things. Like, okay, we'll take the morning flight just in case, but it also gives us more time when we arrive to kind of find our space. So
perfect.
Yeah. Keep your gear and essentials with you in the cabin, and that's kind of what I spoke about earlier. Always, always, always have an eye on your camera gear. I've heard stories. I think there's a famous photographer called Sam Hurd who had his camera gear taken from the overhead thing accidentally, and he lost it. And yeah, it was a whole thing on the internet. But yeah, really guard this with your life. Like, cameras, bodies, everything like that, don't put them in your checked-in luggage. They go in front. Like, rather buy new clothes than new camera gear. That's what I say.
For sure. Do you use anything in the hotel? Because if you're getting there a day before, you're probably, I mean, I don't know about you, but I generally don't want to walk around with all of my stuff on me. So I'm leaving it in the hotel. But do you use any like lock systems or anything to keep it extra safe in the hotels?
No, well, we kind of just lock them into our checked-in luggage. We just gotta hope. We hope that no one's coming in there. But normally we will have at least our camera bag with us. Maybe we don't take all the lenses with us, but we'll at least have a body with us because we also do location scouting. We'll maybe get some atmospheric shots from from the country or things, just to kind of add to the story. So we always have at least a camera. God forbid we lose everything, but we have only a 35 millimeter on our body. We could probably shoot the wedding with just the 35. We would explain it to our couple, obviously, and say, look, it happened that, we got robbed, but we have a camera and a lens and we can work with this. We can still create something. And we would be in trouble if we were stuck with 100 millimeter.
Yeah, true.
But I mean, hey, use an iPhone then. But yeah, so just to come to this tip, it's not always about you. And this is one thing that speaks to me personally as well, is as much as we love weddings, that we want to grow our portfolio and we want to have maybe the fame or the success, we have to remember that these weddings are not just about us. Look at what's happening there. This couple are bringing you into such an intimate part of their lives, whether it's a local wedding or a destination wedding where they've paid for you to come there. And respect them and respect the time and respect their love that they have for each other and their friends and family. So what I mean by this is, let the moments happen as they happen. Try not to interfere too much and just enjoy it as it goes. And take them for their couple photos, but don't keep them for hours on end unless they specifically ask for that. But, go out for 20 minutes, half an hour, and then get them back to their party, because they're generally going to love the moments you capture that are authentic between their friends and family than just their couple shoot entirely. Like, of course, they're going to love their couple photos. They're going to love their portraits of themselves. Of course, who doesn't? But it's the ones that with their parents that are going to matter a lot more. And I think that's where you really need to be focusing. And, so that's quite something I like to mention. And this is the last point here before I move on to the Sherry one, is every guest is a potential marketing machine. Like, this is amazing. We landed the job in Serengeti based on guests. And then it was just like a chain reaction. We got to Canada and to the States and to everything based on guests and couples passing us on. So when you're at a wedding, destination or local, treat every guest as if they are gold. Respect them, take beautiful pictures of them, like even pull them aside and say, guys, can I get a portrait of you to, a guest? They will love it. They're going to talk about it. They're going to feel good. And they're going to ask, the wedding couple for your contact information if they get married, probably because they see you working. And, couples aren't necessarily exposed to the plethora of wedding photographers out there. They don't really know. It's the first time they're getting married, so they don't really know what to look for. But if they've seen you working, if they've seen how you are and they love your photos in the end, man, you've already done 90% of the marketing there. So word of mouth, as we all know, is really, really powerful. But go to a wedding and look at the guests as if they could really be a potential asset for your business. I'm not trying to reduce them down to that, but don't be afraid to speak to the guests and say, guys, hey, look, I'd love to get a photo of you. It's beautiful. And pose them nicely. Don't just necessarily make them stand like this. If they don't know what to do with their hands, use your photography skills and knowledge to turn them a little bit, make them look good and make them love their photo. And, they'll be excited to receive it and to talk about you. That's amazing. And that's how it can be. You never know that, this wedding couple who's getting married locally in your neck of the woods could have guests that are getting married in Iceland in the next year and book you for your first destination wedding. Like, you really don't know necessarily. So take it as if you've got this opportunity. Right? So there we go. It's a very rushed finish to my presentation. I didn't expect you to No. I appreciate that, because I think I could go on forever. Now that I've relaxed and my nerves have calmed, it's been a very nice water drink here. So yeah, and now just to kind of conclude, I want to show you all about the Chérie AI profile. And firstly, thank you to everyone for your support and for your amazing messages and for commenting on my posts on Facebook. You made my day more than once. And so, yeah, I'm more than happy to show you the sort of process that I go through when I'm editing and using Aftershoot, and how this program has absolutely changed my life for the better. Like, editing a wedding on a ferry between Greek islands, and by the time I've arrived, like, a wedding is 90% done. I never thought that day would ever happen. So yeah. And yeah, before I jump to Aftershoot, just remember that the bundle deal and discount is still on. It's valid until the 2nd of November. So if you are looking about getting Chérie AI, you've got a couple more days to do that. So yeah, shall we switch to Aftershoot?
Yes, I hid away your screen so that you
Okay.
could get yourself set up. Yeah, Nam said
Yeah.
I bought this twice, once before after shoot release, and now I have the AI version. Love it. And that's the thing. Like
Thank you.
Roots is like this profile. It's just amazing the amount of messages and texts I've gotten from people who've been running stuff through it. It's such a good and beautiful profile.
Thank
If you
you.
had to describe it, like what would you give it as a description?
Without being too markety and cheesy, well, not cheesy, but like too markety, I want to say it's. I like the word effortless. Like it's meant to be soft. It's meant to be gentle with a shift in colors that feel compliment. I can't describe it in one word, mate. I'm so sorry. I will never. I failed that like
Impossible
when
one
I
word. I
started.
mean,
Sorry.
yeah.
I can't put it into one word. And I think the reason is because I care so much about it. I really care about the happiness of people that have it, and I will do as much as I can to help and to show how to work with it. I really poured a lot of time and energy into the presets to get it as sort of compatible with everything as possible. And then obviously working on this AI profile with you, Justin, and your incredible team has been such an honor and worth all my blood, sweat, and tears to get this and a little bit of a funny launch date change. My fault. It wasn't after shoot. It was on me. So
It's
yeah.
no, it's quite amazing. So I think what I would love to do is,
Mhm.
do you have some images already edited with the profile? Because we are like a little short on time. So I
Okay,
don't,
so
you
I'm
don't,
not
yeah.
going to show you how to use the profile. I will just run it now. It's only 17 photos in this catalog.
Oh,
Don't
perfect.
laugh. Not we had some people submit some images, which is great. So yeah, it's going to
That
complete.
way we can see the final product, because I think
Right, exactly.
one of the cool things about this profile is how effortless it is, right? Like that's a really
Oh,
good
there you go.
word,
You see,
right?
you
Like yeah,
used the word. There you go. Thank you.
you run this profile and then it's just there, right? And like
Right.
I think the one thing that everyone kind of should see is just like what happens when you want to make an adjustment to it. Like you get that profile, you get the edits back, you've run it through. What sort of adjustments do you make as the creator of it to kind of polish it or finish it in the way that you want it to be?
Absolutely. So yeah, so basically what I do once this profile has been applied. Now you have to understand that this is a selection of images from different scenes. I mean, I've got some amazing photos submitted here with some flash, what it looks like, and some harsh light, gorgeous beachy and positano, and also some greenery and everything. So normally it wouldn't look this chaotic. A full wedding is a little bit more in tune naturally. What I always do first is I have a quick brief look over all the images and I let it render, because I don't know if you guys noticed, but when after shoot edits, you open up Lightroom and it takes a little bit of time for it to actually display the edits. And during this time, I'm going through and I'm just making a mental note over everything, and I'm seeing, okay, this does everything almost perfectly. But if I needed it to be a little bit cooler overall, I will go back to after shoot, quickly refine the profile, and adjust it a little bit, and then re-edit it again, because it's amazing. You can do that so quickly and
I
so
love
easily. And then it kind of sets a base layer. Now, if we dive into something like this photo here, okay, I purposely don't use the straightening and cropping and things, because sometimes I crop creatively. Like I don't really care for rules, so I might make this square or something like honestly, I don't mind. It's digital photography, so
that.
you can do what you like, you know. However, first things I do is I'm analyzing this image and I'm going to look at the skin tones. Generally looking at the skin tones first before everything else, because once I've nailed the skin tones, everything else can be adjusted and tweaked thing. Because I think when people look at themselves, they want to look and be like, oh, I really like myself. I love myself. And skin tones play a role there. Now, unfortunately, Aftershoot has done a very, very good job here. There's not much for me to do. So it's not the greatest example. Sorry. I mean, I tried to find pictures that weren't trained in the profile. Um,
it's it's tough when it does well, but
it's I don't even know what to say. The grains, I really like the greens. We have our toolkit, and it just kind of changes. It does. We can shift the greens if we wanted to, or remove the blue highlights. But it's done a really good job. Normally, the sliders I'm adjusting, if anything, are the white balance and the exposure. Those are the two main things, and I think it's common for everyone else. Like it just might need a little bit of help, but that's basically, to me, a finished picture. And can you even imagine that? Like The fact that this was done and I barely have to do anything to get this picture right. Um, so you can see from that to the, okay, it's got the
Wow.
crop, but it's really, really
Yeah.
beautiful. Now, let's have a look at this image here down here. So in this case, what I'm looking at here is, again, the skin tones, okay? And I think it's done a really good job. I do think it's a little on the bright side, so I'm going to just drop down the exposure ever so slightly because I don't really want the skin to blow out, at
Yeah.
least with this profile. I kind of want it to be on the brighter part of middle exposed. I don't know if that makes sense, guys, but if you
Yeah.
know, if for me, it's like,
You don't want to be pushing the limits with this profile. So
right.
it's not bright and airy, right? Like
Right, exactly. You can't go there, but it becomes a bit. It like it
it
doesn't look
loses it.
right.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I would just drop the exposure and the highlights a little bit here in this thing, and then adjust your white balance if you wanted to have a little bit more reds into the skin, and yeah, you just kind of go for like this.
Now you have this amazing toolkit,
Yes.
right? So
Oh,
when
right. Yeah.
when somebody's coming in, I don't know if you have any examples, but can you kind of show us how someone would use that toolkit? So let's just
Right.
say I bought the profile and I've got to do something to an image. What are those pieces of that toolkit?
Okay, so when you install this toolkit, it's going to sit you on the side. I've put a very fancy little exploding icon here so you can always find it. So in the first category, you've got the adjustments. And what comes with this profile is our black and white preset called Loon. Now, this black and white preset is one that is meant to be applied on a color edited image already, since it doesn't adjust the highlight shadows and things from the color. If you notice here on the side, once I've applied it, because why should it do it twice? If Aftershoot has done a great job getting the exposure right, the black and white doesn't need to change. And just by clicking like this, I might only need to drop the exposure slightly. So this is the exact Loon black and white preset that we sell in our Chérie standalone preset thing. And it's bundled into this toolkit, which you get completely complimentary when you get this profile.
Amazing.
Right? It's a German keyboard. I'm sorry, it's a German keyboard, so the letters are in the wrong spot. Oh, wrong, not right. Yeah, so then within the adjustments, we've also got something, if we wanted to add a little bit more colors, for example, if we go here, we can click this and it's just going to boost up the saturations a little bit more selectively. It's there to really help out your edit with a few clicks if necessary. Like you don't have to use them, but they do really come into play. And if we jump back to this image here, Cherie adds a sort of gentle blue hue to the highlights, right? You can see that if you explore the sort of color grading section and things. If you don't want the blues in the highlights, for example, like if you find that the whites are becoming a bit too blue, just simply use this and that's going to remove the blues completely from the highlights. It's really cool. Like for one click, it just works wonderfully.
That's amazing.
Same with the greens. You can adjust the greens there. And yeah, we also have a masking thing, and I know AI in Lightroom is fantastic these days. So we have this I don't know why it's going little every time, but yeah, one click and it's automatically going to detect not just the one subject, but every subject's face in there, and it's going to do a very, very light sort of retouching. It's going to enhance the eyes, it's going to enhance the lips, everything, just literally with one click. But it's meant to be gentle. And if ever you find it being too much, all you need to do is just come up to the amount slider here and reduce it or increase it as you like. So that's nothing, and that's with something.
That's awesome.
So it's just very quick.
So this comes in this toolkit.
Absolutely. This is all included. Also has finishing touches with like a vignette and grain if you want grain or not. Normally, I would just select all the images after the edit like this and make sure that auto sync is on so it applies whatever I do. And put like the grain on whatever level, or no grain if you prefer no grain, for example.
Absolutely, yeah. Rachel Traxler says, "Love this." Francisco says, "Reminds me of the Pharaohs and the Kitcheners."
Look, oh wow, that's a compliment, man.
Right?
Wow,
I knew
you
would like that compliment. Yeah.
Jeez, like. Thank
but
you,
yeah, this
Francesco.
profile is so cool, and the toolkit that comes with it, I think, is so powerful because it means that you can buy into Roots, and we've got Chérie but it also means that like you can fine tune this style a little bit. So you can say, oh, I love everything about it, but maybe not the bluish highlights.
Right,
And
right,
you can apply
absolutely.
that and not have that anymore. So you still
Mhm.
got the look, but it's really personalized on top of it.
Absolutely. I'm a big advocate for making it your own. Take what we have here, take the base profile and tweak it to what suits you. You don't have to like there's no rule book for Cherie. Like there's no like, oh, if you change this slider, it's no longer Cherie. You're an outcast now. No, absolutely not. Like make this your own. Enjoy it. It's your art. It's there to not be your art. It's there to help bring your vision to life, to elevate it, to be a tool for you. I mean, look how beautiful this picture is in black and white. Sorry, but
That black and white
the
was
photographer, Matty, was a phenomenal photographer. So, yeah, really well done, girl. That's stunning. So, I
amazing.
mean, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, Cherie is there to be yours, to enjoy and to be customized. And, you can do that within Aftershoot as well. You can open up, I don't know if you can see this, but
Yeah.
just go to adjust profile, make your slide adjustments, and re edit the whole thing again. And the fact that it doesn't cost you anything
To
anymore
keep doing it.
is amazing. And the fact that it's offline, it's game changing. Honestly, it's
Yeah.
fantastic. Like really,
I
it's so
have to
good.
say, uh, the first version of the profile that we tested,
Hmm.
I fell in love with it,
Oh,
but
okay.
it was very warm.
Right.
It wasn't supposed to be warm, right? Because we made some adjustments on it.
Yeah.
But like that's the perfect place for profile adjustments because it was just it was too warm, but it wasn't because the style just worked when it was warm too. And it
Right.
had that natural, effortless feel, but it also had this really like, I don't know, I can't describe it, but for me, that's like the perfect example. Like you can really make it your own just by even small things like
For
bringing the white balance up a little bit warmer.
For sure. Like, I mean, here in this case, if I'm making this a bit warmer than what I would normally do for my own personal style, it still works, I find. Like, you can bring this up and warm. And if you say, okay, well, you still want to have these greens come a little bit back to natural, you can. Okay, it's very slight here because these bushes weren't very green, but you can actually do that. If you find that, okay, you actually want this to be a bit cooler than what you would normally, and you don't want the blues to be there, remove the blue highlights, and now you have a whole sort of different ball game to play with. Like
Maddie
it's
Maddie commented, fangirling, seeing my images there. Also been loving the profile. It's been a game
oh,
changer. So
amazing, Matty. Thank you so much for sending these photos, girl. It's amazing work, and
incredible.
I'm so happy to have you.
Beautiful work in the profile, like seamless. It's a match made in heaven right there.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I hope I didn't rush through the editing process too much, And guys, if you have any questions about this, please don't hesitate to reach out to me in the Facebook community, especially in the Aftershoot community. I would love to answer questions and help out and share examples so other people can see it as well. And if you have any other problems or questions, you can always shoot me an email. I'm always there to help and support it. It matters a lot to me that you love Cherie as much as I do, and so I'm going to do what I can to help you.
Yeah, it's easy to love. I don't think there's I don't think there's much that people need to do to love it. So the feedback has been phenomenal. Everyone really loves this profile. So I'm really excited for you all to try it and play with it. And I want to see all the images, right? I think just as much as you, I'm like I want to see everyone's work with Cherie because I do think it really does. It does create such a beautiful set of images. I haven't seen any images run through it that I was like, nah, it doesn't fit that style. It just works everywhere.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. I mean, I'm really so honored to be here, a part of this aftershoot journey in some small way, and to bring something that means a lot to me to the community is, it's really a nice feeling.
Yeah, we're so excited. Thank you so much for taking so much time out of your day to walk us through
Oh, it's a pleasure.
destination
Absolute pleasure.
photography. If you guys have any comments, any questions, anything, you can comment on this and you can tag me or Shayne. Shayne's in the Facebook community. So if you're in the Aftershoot community watching this, drop a comment, tag Shayne, tag myself. We'd love to
Please do.
interact with you guys. And thank you guys all so much for tuning in. And thank you again, Shayne, for everything.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me, guys. And guys, thank you all for being here watching. I hope you learned something from it or enjoyed it to some degree, found it humorous. But yeah, we'll see you in the community, guys. And yeah, all the best.